Hello and welcome to our course on Web Programming Fundamentals, or Introduction to Web Programming. My name is Ken Victory and I'm excited to be your instructor for this course. In this course, you will learn the basics of web development or web programming using the three essential languages used to build web programs: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML or Hypertext Markup Language is the standard markup language for creating web pages. It gives structure to the content of a web page, such as headings, paragraph, lists, and more. HTML uses tags to mark up the content on a web page, as we're going to see, and it's the foundation of all web pages, without which a web page would not exist. CSS, on the other hand, or cascading style sheets, is a style sheet language used to describe the look and formatting of a document written in HTML. With CSS, you can control the layout, the color, font, and other visual aspects of a web page. CSS is what gives the web page its style and makes it visually appealing. Lastly, JavaScript is a programming language that is used to add interactivity and dynamic behavior to a web page. With JavaScript, you can create things like drop-down menus, image sliders, form validation, and much more. JavaScript is what makes the web interactive, or makes a web page interactive, and it allows it to respond to user inputs. In this course, we will start by learning the basics of HTML and how to structure the content of a web page. We will then move on to CSS and learn how to style the layout of our web page. Finally, we will move on to JavaScript and add some interactivity on the web page and make it a bit more dynamic. By the end of this course, you will have a solid understanding of these three languages and how to use them to build your own web pages and applications. You will also have the skills and knowledge to start building your own web projects and explore more advanced topics in web development. So, I'll quickly minimize myself and open up Visual Studio Code. Open that up. Now, to test our web pages, we will need a browser. In our case here, I'm going to be using Google Chrome. All right, I like it that way. So we have a web browser here, and we have our Visual Studio Code open. Within Visual Studio Code, we're going to create a folder. So if you head over to Explorer, open folder, we can now create a new folder. Within this folder, I just want to get into development here. I'll get into web course, then I'll create a new folder here and call this, I like to call it that way. Then within this, I'm just going to open that folder for us. Now we have lesson 1 up here. So to begin writing our HTML, we're going to create 3 folders. The first folder we will create is pages. We want to be able to store our web pages in a single folder, just like you'd want to store your books, your writing. If you're writing a book, you would like to keep that book organized. Let's create another folder. We'll call this folder CSS. We create another folder. We'll call that folder JavaScript. And JavaScript, you can abbreviate it as JS. Now, within our main folder, that's within lesson 1, I'm going to create a new file and I'll call it index.html. Make sure it's not within the other folders. This is because index.html is the entry point of our website. And let me give you some very simple HTML code here. And let's start with the template, HTML5. And there we go. We have our first HTML code. We have the head and we have the body. The head and the body. Within the head section, that's up here, this is where we include things that are not normally seen by the user. We're going to include things like the title of the document, like you've seen here. We also add information that has to do with the kind of devices we want to use. We talk about compatibility here. Okay, we want our website to run on modern browsers, so we'll put it here. If, for instance, we didn't support a particular browser, if we didn't support Firefox, this is where we're going to declare that. And there are several other things we can add into the head section, but you get the idea. This is data that is useful for the browser to properly interpret our website or web page. Right. Now, within our title section, let's create a new, let's change the title here to my first website. And this title, before that, let's copy the path, the absolute path, not relative path. We copy the absolute path and we put it here and we press enter. Now, you can see this is the title, index.html. So we can consider this a white paper for us to start writing. Within the heading section, the title section, I'm going to write my first website, web page. I keep calling it website. My first web page. I save this and refresh. There we go. We have the title over there at the top. For example, if we open W3 Schools real quick, W3 Schools real quick, you're going to see a logo up here. So this logo is called a fav icon. We do that at the top here, and we're going to see how to do that later. Now, for a side note, if you don't understand any of these tags or what they mean, just hover on it and it's going to explain to you what that element is about. So HTML equif, if you don't understand it, hover on it and read the documentation, and you're definitely going to love this. And I want us to create our web page here. And instead of saying my first web page, I just want us to create a web page that teaches programming. Introduction to web programming. And save. There we go. But first, let's explain what tags are. I've been talking about tags and so on. So we have an element. The word is called an element. When we add the angular brackets before and after, it's now called a tag. So tags are used by the browser to interpret what we're doing. If you look at what we've built here, if you look at what we've built up here, title doesn't show up. There's nothing as title here. This is because the browser doesn't actually display the tags. We've told the browser we want this text to be displayed at the title bar, and that's what the browser has done. Tags always come in pairs. If you see head here, we have another head here. Body here, we have a body here. The first tag is called an opening tag. The last one is called a closing tag. So it's very, very important for us to always close the tags. When you open it up, make sure you close it. For instance, what we're building here is going to have a title. Let's look at what W3 School is doing here, and steal some inspiration from them. And this is a great resource as well. If you can come here, there's so many things I'm not going to cover, but you can come here. I was talking about the fav icon. You can come to fav icon and see how to create it right here. There's a lot of information for web developers like yourself. Just head over to W3 Schools and you're going to have a lot of information or additional context to what we're talking about. But let me just head back here and reduce the page real quick. Now, within this page, we have several parts. We have the heading section, right at the top there, right here. We have the navigation. This is a navigation section just here. Now, within the heading, we also have some navigation, but this is the main navigation bar. We also have some navigation, some side navigation here, just for simplicity. But if we reduce it, we're going to discover that this is not really a high priority navigation. That is why it has disappeared and gone over to the main navigation section. So this is a typical website. Almost any website will have these components: a header, a navigation bar, then a body section or the main content area, then a footer. So we're going to use that, put that at the back of our minds while building our web programming course website. Now, there are several tags, and let me just quickly show you some common tags would use. So we talked about the header. Let's use the header tag. It's one of the tags we're going to use. So within the header, we want to put the title of our program. We don't have a logo, so I'm just going to say IT WP as our logo. I'll just use that as our logo for now. IT Web. Yeah, sounds like a company. IT Web. Okay, let's do that. Now we talked about a nav section. So within the nav section, we want to be able to move through different pages, right? Maybe the about us page, our services page, our contact us page, and things like that. So we're going to create a nav for that, and within this nav, we're going to list the kind of things we want to be able to move to. So we want to be able to do an about us page, about us. We do li, and we're going to do let's say services, and li contacts us, services. Then we do a contact us page. We also want to do a home page, right? Because that's the home page is going to represent this page. So yeah, after the nav, we talked about the main content area. And so the main content area, we're just going to call it within our main content area. We want to just say, we want to have a heading 1, which will be called lesson 1, right? Then after that, we will have a paragraph to introduce what lesson 1 is about. In this lesson, we will be exploring the an introduction to web programming using the 3 main introductory technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, just like that. Then we save that. You're already seeing some tags we can use. If we've already seen here, we've already seen a tag, that's a header tag. We've seen a nav tag. We've seen an unordered list tag. We've seen an h1 tag. We've seen a paragraph already. So you're going to keep discovering these tags as we go along. So the UL tag we use an UL tag to define unordered list. And again, just hover on it, you can always get a detailed explanation. The UL tag defines an unordered list. So we have a list of our services here, which is not ordered. An ordered list has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on. It could be A, B, C, D, E. So there is an order. It starts from 1 to the end. So in cases where that is useful, you might want to use ordered list. So the H1 is a title tag or a heading tag. The first heading, the first level heading. Let's do a heading 3 now. And look at let's look at another tag. So it's going to be called heading 3. Within heading 3, we're going to start outlining some of the tags we've used, right? So we're going to say HTML tags. We've covered that already. So within HTML tags, we're going to have P, and then here we'll have a P. So we'll get the definition from here and just paste it in there. So we just use that. We'll also look at let's do heading 4. And then we're going to use that. We're going to call that paragraph. paragraph. So a paragraph, and then below a paragraph we're going to write this. Let's move on and keep defining our terms. We're going to say h5. We'll call this a h4 rather. Yeah, h4. We're going to call this an ordered list. Right, and then just below that, we're going to explain what an ordered list means. An unordered list, rather. Yes. Ordered, not unordered. So we do OL for ordered list. And just here we're going to explain what an unordered list is. And yeah, you can always click on that to find the full documentation about that particular element you want to read or you want to know about. But let's move on. And here we're going to do something like item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, and so on. Now, if we save this and refresh, we have an ordered list here. And we'll start including some funny characters here. We'll start including that. Then we'll do greater than here. So this is the code for less than. This is the code for greater than. If I save that, I have our text here. So I want this to show up as code. So if somebody is reading, you shouldn't just think it is some general something. So it now looks different. The font now looks like code, and that's because of this code. That leads us to what we call nested tags. So nested tags. We can put tags into other tags. We can put tags into another tag. Like for example, we've kept code here within this tag. Now there are two types of elements. We have block level elements and inline level elements. Inline level elements can be put within text, and it's going to all show up on the same line. But block level elements are elements that take their own line. If you see, this element has taken a full line, this has taken a full line, this is taking, all of what we've done here have been taking full lines. That's block level elements. Now I just want to make sure I have the closing tag right there. So I'm going to say less than again, and then I'll do / then do P and do greater than, just here. So we have an opening and closing tag right there. So that's how we will go about displaying HTML code to end users to see, okay, if we wanted to show HTML code. If I change this to opening and closing tags, something like this, P, I save. If I come back here, nothing. It doesn't work. It breaks the line. And this is another thing. block level elements will break the line if they are kept in line. Just like what we have here, we've kept a block level element, which is the paragraph, within another paragraph. It has broken the line. So let's close that and refresh again, and there you go. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to do the same thing for unordered lists. H4 unordered lists, and we'll do a paragraph, and we'll define an unordered lists, and the list item is the same. So we'll just copy that, we'll put it here, and we copy the text for unordered list, and we'll put it within the paragraph. And see if we refresh, there we go. We have that. All right. So we talked about a footer section. So every web page should have a footer. Within the footer, that's where we put our copyright information. Our copyright information here is just all rights. Within the footer section, we want to have a paragraph. Then within that paragraph, we say all rights reserved. Just some good copyright information there. If we save, we have our copyright there. The copyright, we want to add our copyright symbol as well. Very important. So we're going to have a copyright symbol, copy. Then our copyright will be IT web, that's our company name, .com, for example. Then we'll have all rights reserved, something like that. But now we want to put all rights reserved on a new line. So we're going to use the break. We're going to break the line for the paragraph. We're going to use the break tag to break the line. If you see it here, represents a line break. So we're going to add a line break there, and if we refresh, it breaks the line to that. Okay, now we've talked a lot about HTML and how to display HTML, and if you followed with me to this point, you should be able to create a basic website that looks like this. Now, but to make things more organized, we want to be able to group text, right? We want to be able to group our different sections or our code. If you have very good information, but you've not organized it, you might not sell your book. That is why publishers go through a very long process in checking to make sure that their work looks okay, their work looks nice, it's printed on very good paper. They do all of that to make sure that people can read their work based on the aesthetics of it or the organization of it. And that's what we want to start doing now. We want to start organizing our work just here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move the navigation into the header section. We're going to move navigation into our header. We're going to change this IT web into a heading because we want it to be bold. So we want to put that, so it should look like, we want it to look like a logo. So we're going to do that. We save that. If I refresh, there is no change. Apart from that, the IT web now will be bold. Now, let's move ahead. Here, we want to organize this. And to organize this, we're going to use a div tag. A div tag. Now, within this div tag, we're going to add the heading or the introduction. We're going to add that here. And we save. No difference. You're not going to notice any difference. We are just organizing things here. So, our tag section is a whole section on its own. And what I want to do here is I want to use a section tag to differentiate these different sections. So I'm going to say this section is called, and now let's have some comments. So HTML tags. These comments are useful to us, not to the browser. The browser is not going to show this, but now we have used that to be able to know what section we are working on. I'm going to copy this, everything, and put it within the section tag. Within this section, we have a section header, and we're going to put that within a div. Let's do some what are HTML tags? HTML tags are keywords. Yes, they are keywords a browser will use to render or display contents on a web page. Okay, so I'm going to put that within a div just to differentiate this from the others. Again, this is just for organization purposes. If I refresh this, you're not going to notice any difference. But it's very important for us to be able to organize it, as you're going to see much later when we start looking into styling. If I cut this, put it within its own div, we will also take the ordered lists and put it within a div. So we're going to say div here. I'm going to put this within a div as well. So put that within a div. Ordered list, we're going to put that within a div too. And save. So if I save that and refresh, of course you don't notice any difference, but then we have more organized code. We have some really well organized code here, and this is what takes us to attributes. Attributes add more information, additional information to HTML tags. So if you want to link to another website, if you want to link to another page, if you want to link to other parts of your document, you're going to use attributes. So within our lesson 1, we want to use an anchor tag, and we're going to link it to https://w3schools.com. This is where we want to link to. We're going to say visit W3schools to learn more about HTML. And if I save that and refresh, there you go. We have a link there, but I don't like the way it's displaying. Now let's use our knowledge of nested tags to display it more nicely. So we're going to say visit, we're going to add the same text here. Visit W3 schools, schools to find to learn more about HTML. But now I want the link to be displayed only on W3 schools. So I'm going to copy this opening tag. I'm going to copy the opening tag and put it here. Then take W3 schools and put it within our text. So if I refresh, we have the link right there. But now let's add another attribute, because I don't want it to close my web page whenever I open that. So I'm just going to close W3 schools up there, and I'm going to add another attribute and call this attribute target. This target will be blank. So what this does is that it opens the web page on a different it's going to open it up on a different tab. So if I click on this, it opens it up on a different tab, and it doesn't close my work I was working on. If I take this off and save, I refresh this, if I open this up, it's going to close what I was working on, and I may not want to close that. So that's what we do to prevent it from closing our present window. I'm going to save that. Now I want us to add an image. Our page is boring, so I want us to add an image to make it look more beautiful. So in here, I'm going to use the img tag, and then we have the attribute src attribute is going to now add. That's what we're going to use to add our image. Yeah, let me add an image here. We're going to use this image, a very nice image gotten from Unsplash. Let's just add it here. Now I want to create a folder and call it images, just to keep things organized. Remember, organization is key when it comes to development. So let's put it within images. I'm going to confirm. And I'm going to change this to header image, header. Yeah, a header dot img, just so I can easily reference it. So now we're going to link to this image using header. Header. No. It's found in images. Within the image folder, we have header.html, so .jpg. And what is described within this image, we can see a young man programming. So let's add that here. Very, very important here to add that. So young man programming, and I save that. If I refresh, there we go. We have an image of a young man programming. But this looks too big, so we're going to use another attribute called height to reduce the height of the image, and we're just going to make it 400 so that the image is displayed. Yeah, this looks much better. This looks better. What if we start with the image instead of lesson 1? Let's just start with the image here. I save that, I refresh. There we go. We're now starting with the image. Okay. We've covered that. Let's move ahead to CSS to see how styling can be properly done to our website. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you within the CSS part of this tutorial.